Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel where we discuss all things living here in the great state of Maryland. And today we are talking about some of my favorite parts about living here in the great state of Maryland. So let's get started right now. All right, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is just how close you are to so many different areas, even multiple different states right here in Central Maryland. It's one of my favorite things about living here, especially after, kind of where I came from, just kind of giving you a little background of my situation. I was coming from Southern California, beautiful, love it out there, but it's really hard to leave the state, right? It's hard to see different areas and kind of get out of the Southern California area just because it's so big. So coming out here to Maryland and just being 3 hours from New York City, a couple hours from Philadelphia, you can be up to some really nice country parts of Pennsylvania, West Virginia. You've got the beaches on the eastern shore, both Maryland, and then heading up north, you've got some beautiful beaches in Delaware. You've got the dual metro area of Baltimore and DC, and just so much within driving distance is just one of the things that I absolutely love about living here. So you can take day trips, you can do weekends away where it's not hours upon hours upon hours in the car, where you can really get out and see different things within a reasonable amount of time in the car. And that's one of the things I absolutely love here. So a couple weeks ago, we spent a few days in Ocean City. It's kind of like a staple out here, beach time in the summer for Maryland families. So we were out there, and from Baltimore, greater Baltimore area, I got on a Sunday morning. So of course there was really no traffic, but I got to Ocean City in 2.5 hours. It's a very easy, very straightforward drive. So that's one of the things I love about this area too, is you can do things like that. That's an example. We had a family wedding up in New York City. It did take about 5.5 hours to get up there, just because we ended up there on lunchtime on a Friday, and then crossing over the George Washington Bridge was kind of a nightmare. But on a Sunday morning, we got back in just a little over 3 hours from basically the Bronx to greater Baltimore. So just to kind of give an example of a couple trips that I've taken personally, kind of what those commute times look like. And then you've got Western Maryland. Western Maryland is about 2.5 hours away, basically like Cumberland area, but then just past a little west of Cumberland, you've got Deep Creek. Deep Creek is just an awesome year-round spot where you can do spring and summer stuff with the huge lake they have, but you can do all the winter stuff too, like all the hiking, and they got snowboarding and skiing. They've got a couple mountains where you can do all that type of stuff. So having all that stuff super close by, where you don't have to spend an entire day driving just to get to that stuff, is something that I love about this area. And real quick before jumping into the next item, I am a licensed realtor here in the state of Maryland. So if you ever have any real estate questions, if you are wondering whether buying or selling a home here in the state of Maryland is the right decision for you, and you'd like to have a conversation around that, we'd absolutely love to help out in any way possible. Feel free to reach out however you are most comfortable, and we would love to assist. The next thing that I absolutely love about living here in the state of Maryland is all the parks. Now I'm going to speak a little more specifically to Howard County, because that's where I live, but I can say out of experience with working all these different areas: Baltimore, Anne Arundel County, PG County, Montgomery, Frederick, Carroll County. They all have a ton of outdoor space and parks specifically. So that was something that I absolutely love about the area, especially now having a couple little kids. So just speaking specifically to Howard County, we've got Centennial Park, which is about 300 acres, huge lake, about 3 miles of walking trails. You've got Bland Air Park, which is a newer Howard County park within Columbia. Columbia itself has a ton of things. They own and operate 3 different lakes, which all have walking trails. So there's just a ton of outdoor things to do there. And then Howard County is basically on the north side. You've got Patapsco State Park, just hundreds and hundreds of acres of trails. You've got access to the river there. And then to the south, bordering Montgomery County, you've got Patuxent State Park. So just opportunities to get outside, parks and outdoor recreation, really all around. And that's just something that another thing that I love about living here in the state of Maryland. All right, the next thing I love about living here in Maryland is having access and being so close to the dual metro area. So for me, Central Maryland, I kind of always describe that to people as basically greater Baltimore all the way on down to DC and that section of Maryland in between there. So, it's just great to have access to those different areas just for things like entertainment and kind of fun things to do, because both have a lot of history, both have a lot of fun, cool things to do with the family. So that kind of being one. And then two, basically just the economy and kind of the job markets around being around both of those areas. So you've got a ton of obviously government work here in the Central Maryland area, where you've got a ton of people, even in Baltimore, who commute down to DC, and then a lot of people in Central Maryland commute down to DC for all that federal government work. And then you've got Fort Meade, which is Maryland's largest employer in Central Maryland, basically in the Severn area, which is part of Anne Arundel County. You've got a ton of civilian, and then also, all four branches of the military operating out of Fort Meade, so a ton of opportunity there. But then you've also got a growing tech industry. You've got education and healthcare, just huge industries, and a huge part of Maryland employment and job opportunities. So if you are looking for work, if you're looking for good, stable work, Central Maryland has that to offer. That's one of the things I love about this area as well. And then last but not least, the last thing I want to mention here is going to be having all four seasons. It's one of the things that I love most about living here in Maryland. So just, especially the spring and the fall, they never seem to last long enough, but it's, times of the year that I absolutely love, especially getting outdoors, during those times of the year. The weather is just always so ideal. But then I always tell people, I have this running joke with a family member of mine, is just how unpredictable Maryland weather can be. So this is something I would prepare anyone for who's coming, especially coming from out of the area. And kind of the joke is, ever since I've moved here, it seems like every year I say, does Maryland have this every year? Like, there's something with the weather happening that does not seem to have happened in the past. So one year it seemed like just crazy amounts of wind. Another year seemed like just really, a lot of rain, a lot of precipitation and snow. The next year, very little to no snow. This year has been the excessive heat. I mean, in June, we had just a ton of 90-degree plus days, and just the heat has been crazy this year, which I have not noticed it, being this hot this early any of the past 9 to 10 years that I've been here. So I would also prepare people for that when it comes to weather. It's just that you never know what you're gonna, get with Maryland. You might think that we're out of winter, and then, like say in, late March, and then all of a sudden it warms up and then cools back down. So there's just all sorts of things with the weather. Just kind of be prepared for everything is kind of my best advice with that. But we definitely get all four seasons, and it's something that I really enjoy about living here in the area. Thank you so much, everyone, for checking out the channel and listening and watching this video. We look forward to seeing you at the next video, and we'll talk to you soon.